Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry and I'm back with another custom card video. It's number 12 this time around and we're covering cards with the keyword random. Now, friendly little reminder is that this actually derived from a poll that I posted on the YouTubes where you guys could pick from 3 keywords, and that was play, copy, or random, and the majority chose random. So you did this to yourselves, okay? But we're gonna go with it anyways. I got 10 cards for you, and if you want to jump in on the next keyword, the next challenge, it's copy, okay? I thought that would be a really interesting one, so I'm bringing it back and I want to do copy. You just jump into the Braveverse Discord, totally free. You just jump in there, then you create a card with that link. You can even ask for help in the Braveverse Discord. We're all helpful with the art, the text, the power level, the balance of the card. And then you post one submission in the weekly challenge channel, but try to just post one. If you end up posting a second one, just go back and delete the old one, please and thank you. There are no wrong submissions. I look forward to everyone's creative ideas, and we have so many submissions now. If you just want to check out custom cards, jump into the Discord. It's insane how many are submitted every single week. It's awesome. And I'll be doing another poll for the weekly challenge after this one, so definitely hit subscribe if you want to keep up with these videos and the polls for the weekly challenges. All right, let's get into this week's winners. But first I got my card right here, and it's Baron Strucker, and it's a 1/2 ongoing random effects and abilities do not trigger. So I don't like random effects. And then this random challenge happened, and I was like, oh geez, okay, what am I gonna think about for a random ability? And I was like, well, you don't actually have to have a random ability. Maybe we're just gonna take them away from all the cards. So that's stuff like all of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is why I made it in a Hydra character, because I thought it was fitting that the Hydra characters would be set to counter the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the S.H.I.E.L.D. characters, the Avengers and stuff. So like Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Agent Coulson, all those characters get denied by Baron Strucker here, which maybe is too powerful, and they don't need a nerf or anything like that. But I just thought it'd be funny to have a random effect counter, because when would you really ever put this in your decks? Maybe you end up putting it in a Spectrum ongoing deck because of all that +2 power, and it's a 1/2, so it's like pretty easy layup to just throw it in the deck and just like no RNG today, none of it. I also put effects and abilities because I believe cards have abilities, whereas locations tend to have effects. So I don't know if that clarification was really necessary, but I just wanted to put it in there to let you know that locations won't trigger theirs as well. So X mansions, random effect wouldn't take place, and there's a number of them. Anything with the keyword random was really what I was looking to target, to eliminate and not have happen. So I thought it was kind of funny. Maybe not the most powerful or balanced card, I don't even really know, but I just wanted to put something that stopped random abilities, and I came up with this guy. So there you go. All right, let's get to the top 10. Number 10 is actually a tie. We got Setteduetto's Executioner, which I thought was awesome, but then the same character came out that I equally liked and I couldn't pick between the two. We got Nogoalov's Skurge. Now they have pretty different abilities and stat lines, so they're not really that similar in their actual effect, but they're the same character. I like them both. I only wanted to do top 10, so I'm kind of cheating with 11 here, but these are awesome cards. So the Executioner, we'll start with him, right? So on reveal, destroy a random enemy card with the same power as this one, a 3/3. So in normal scenarios, you're going to destroy a 3 power card, right? There's going to be a 3 power card, you're going to destroy it, and that's pretty darn good. But it's not the easiest thing because you have to hope that your opponent is playing a card that has 3 power. It's not like cost. Cost is normally a curve where you're going to see a lot of those cards being played from 1 to 6, and there's a lot of things that are going to influence power in a match. You know, locations might influence power, a Scorpion, or just other cards that you're playing, your opponent's playing, anything like that. So the power levels are going to fluctuate. So it's not going to be the most reliable thing to snipe a card that maybe you wanted to. Maybe you played it on the same turn, but you didn't have priority, and your opponent buffed that card, and then it dodges the destroy, and then Executioner totally whiffs. So it seems at first glance really powerful because you have a card like Gambit that's random, it's going to destroy a card and you discard. So sometimes that works together in your plan, but for the most part, the RNG-ness of it makes it so that it's not the most reliable card. Whereas Executioner kind of seems a little bit more reliable, but still has some downsides. I feel like it falls in a fairly balanced state. And I like the fact that it's somewhat controllable RNG. You know, it is random in the text, but you can make use of that randomness depending on how much power is out on the board at that time. But I thought it was a really cool card. And then you have Skurge, the Executioner. On reveal, set a random card in your hand to 0 cost. And this is a 5/1. 1. So you're paying 5, you're only getting 1 power out there, but a card in your hand is going to be 0. That is nuts, dude. That can be so good. If you ramp into Skurge by some opportunity, like Psylocke on 3 to play Skurge on 4, and then maybe you pass on 5, and then you play Infinite plus any of your 0 cost stuff, that'd be insane. Maybe you don't want to run Infinite because then if it hits the 0 cost, it doesn't even matter anyways. But then you have a crazy turn 6 anyway. If you pass on 5, then you play Infinite for free plus 6 energy worth of stuff. It could really set up some crazy turns, but it is a random card in your hand, so it'd be hard to really focus target a card that you want. Maybe you do it in like a Lockjaw cycle discard deck where you're trying to buff up that APOC and not have a lot of stuff in your hand, and then APOC is 0 by the end. Maybe that's worth it. Overall, I feel like this would have a hard time finding a lot of viability, but I'm sure there's like a combo out there that this would absolutely break the game, because anytime you can discount something to 0, it's probably going to be nuts. I can imagine like some Onslaught, Iron Man, Omega Red kind of crazy shenanigans if you're able to pull it off. So I thought it was a really cool card. I like both of these cards, and the characters and the art and everything looked really fantastic, so I had to put them together at number 10. Let's get to number 9. Number 9, Mighty Igarashi's Mr.M. I feel really guilty right now because Mighty Igarashi mentioned that there was a line of text that I had to say, and I don't have it on hand with me, so I apologize. But this was a really cool card. So it's a 3/3, fantastic variants, by the way. I always like it when you guys share variants. It gives them a little bit more character to the card, I find. So on reveal at the start of next turn, set the energy for both players to a random number maximum of 6. Now, my assumption based on the text is that it's only going to affect the next turn. So if I play this on turn 5, the next turn, which is turn 6, is going to have a random number of energy. It could be 6, it could still be the same, but it also could be 1. And then you only have 1 energy on turn 6, and people are probably retreating. If you play this on curve, then your turn 4 is affected, and it could ramp up to 6, right? Or it could be less than 4. So pretty wild effect here. I think you could really make use of it in your deck, though. Playing like maybe like a zoo type deck where you're able to play a lot of things at later curves. So like if there's 6 energy, I can play a lot of things. But if not, if it's only like 1 or 2 energy, then I still can at least play cards. Whereas if you're playing that kind of late game, it's going to be really disruptive. If you're hoping to play like number 2 6 cost, or just waiting for that big turn 6, then it doesn't ever really come. So it'd be super disruptive. But I like the idea of manipulating the energy and seeing what happens. The randomness maybe would be a little bit triggering a lot of the time. Also, you can maybe stack this with Odin. I could imagine like Mr.M then Odin. If you have the available energy, you can't even reliably say that'd be a combo because the energy is always changing. But I thought this was a really cool card. I really liked the variants and the overall color palette. That was pretty awesome too. So thank you, Mighty Igarashi. This was a good one, and I apologize I don't have your quote. Number 8, Max Beam 16 Reptile. Yeah, this was really cool one, but possibly overtuned, which is why I had it a little bit higher in the rankings here. So it turns a random enemy card into a Raptor. A Raptor is a 1/1 with no ability, and Reptile is a 3/2. So not a great stat line, right? Because, 3 costs, you're hoping for at least 3 or 4 power, but the effect is pretty nutty. I think you hold on to this like turn 6. It also works with Silver Surfer. So you play this and Silver Surfer, buff it up, it gets all crazy, and then also you're totally disrupting your opponent, like anything they're trying to do. Not to mention if they're trying to run a Silver Surfer deck, boom, it becomes a Raptor and doesn't get that buff, something along those lines. If they've been investing in 1 or 2 cards, boom, it gets wrecked like a Venom trying to eat things up and then getting really powerful. Goodbye, gone. Sunspot that's been buffing up to play Infinite Lair, gone. Like you can't target it, so there's randomness. If squirrels happen to pop out from Central Park or anything along those lines, yeah, then it might totally whiff. And then it's just a brutal card. Like you hope you never did this. You could Odin it in it maybe later. Like that'd be a crazy good synergy. But I feel like more often than not, if you play like some kind of control archetype where you destroy some cards or anything like that, this would have insane value. Like for instance, I guess Cosmo could counter this, but like destroying things like Shang-Chi or Killmonger can be protected behind armor and Professor X, whereas like transforming, turning a card into something else can't really be avoided. Like power debuffs don't get avoided usually in Marvel Snap unless you're playing Luke Cage. So there's not really anything to prevent from turning into raptors or squirrels or anything like that just about yet. So maybe that's why they haven't put it in the game just yet. But I thought it was a pretty cool card. card, very fitting for the character as well. I thought that was fantastic. Look at those variants as well. So good. So cool. I love the different art styles for them. And then I put the Reptil there so you guys have reference to that. So awesome max beam. I really like this card. Number 7, AndyC's Speedball. All right, the Masked Marvel. Very cool artwork. I absolutely adore the like baby variant over there, and then the black and white variant. Very cool, and the main variant is awesome. But at the end of each turn, gain +1 power and move to a random location on either side. 2/1. So this is just absolute chaos, this card, because it can bounce from your side of the board to your opponent's side of the board and getting a bunch of power. You can't even reliably hope that this is going to be on your side of the board by the end of the game. It might just be like +5 power for your opponent, right? I think like if it's a 2-drop and you play it on curve, right, you're going to get power on 3, 4, 5, and then 6. That'd be another 4. So yeah, it become about a 5. And then, geez, like unless there's an extra turn or anything like that, you got to hope there's maybe an extra turn, but it's random. It's a random location. It doesn't just mean like the next turn is going to bounce back to your side like Titania if you play a card there. No, it could repeatedly just bounce between your opponents. Total RNG, total randomness, which is why I wanted to put it in here, because we got to get crazy with the randomness every now and then. And the movement is pretty cool. Maybe you build a deck with it, like with Craven, but for the most part, I don't know if you ever really end up playing this because of the high variance and lack of consistency. But it'd be really funny though in a deck. Not to mention it could be disruptive going over to your opponent's side. Maybe they didn't want that over there, or it perfectly fell into a slot where they had 3 cards and then they can't play a 4th card there. So it could be really disruptive. But the randomness could absolutely wreck you as well in the disruptiveness. It pops back over into a spot you didn't want it, and then you're just kind of screwed. So it's a pretty wild card, AndyC, but I love the artwork. The effect is awesome too. Like that's what we're getting into here. We're in the randomness. We got to get wild with it. So I really like it. Let's get to number 6. Number 6, Wassuclaire's High Evolutionary. All right, High Evolutionary making another comeback. I think this is the 3rd time we featured this character in custom cards because it's such a cool one, and everyone's always so on point with the ability, I find. So it's a 3/3. On reveal, change the abilities of all 1-cost cards in your deck to random 6-cost cards abilities. Really evolving those 1 costs into being something you can be proud of. I don't know if this is bonkers or not. Here's the thing about the bounce of this card. Not all 6-drops have good effects, right? I mean, think about it this way. It could hit Agatha, and then you're not even in control of your game, and you just got a bunch of 1-drops and the power output is not that great. Maybe she just literally plays herself, kind of. It could literally be like Blade with that ability and he plays himself, whatever. But plays himself right away and it's not too bad. But I also imagine it could be Hulk. No ability I think would count here. It could hit the Hulk, but it also could hit Leader, which would be absolutely insane. Onslaught for some crazy shenanigans. Mind you, you're still running a bunch of 1-drops to make this happen, and you have to draw them, right? So it's kind of like that negative problem where you play Mr. Negative, great, my deck is the way I want it to be, but now I got to draw those cards and I'm running out of time. So High Evolutionary kind of falls into that problem where you play it on 3, you're going to draw 3. Hopefully they're 1-drops, and hopefully they got good effects because that's random as well. So there's a bit of variance there, but I was thinking, what if you're running M'Baku and Angel? They fly out of the deck whenever they can, at least M'Baku at the end of the game, with a crazy effect. Oh my gosh, could this be the best buff to M'Baku we've ever seen? I think so. It'd be crazy. It'd be so funny to have those crazy wins with M'Baku. What if he flies out and then Ultrons or something, puts a bunch of drones, somehow wins the game, or Dr. Doom, or who knows? There's all kinds of craziness that could happen. Oh my gosh, it'd be too funny. So like from a really funny and fun standpoint, I think this would be fantastic. I just don't know if it's balanced. Might be absolutely nuts, but again, it's random. And anytime something's random, you can't really write it off as broken. Like there's going to be times it's going to burn you. It's just a matter of how many times. Anyways, then you just put it on a good card like Blade, then you remove the discard, right? You remove that negative ability and you get hopefully something better. Hopefully. Number 5, AceHangman's Blindfold. Oh my gosh, I really like this one. When I first saw it, I was like, yeah. So 3/3. On reveal, put a random unrevealed card into each player's hand. They cost 2 to play. I think that's so fantastic. I mean, there's a few like subtle things here to consider. It also buffs like Collector and, you know, like buffing your Devil Dino or what have you, or maybe even Ronin because you're putting a card in your opponent's hand, which is great. And maybe they don't want to take the risk in playing it. 2 cost isn't too bad. Maybe it fills out your curve. Maybe it's turn 5. You have a 3 you really wanted to play, but you didn't have anything else. Now you got this 2 cost random card that's unrevealed. So that's why the AceHangman has the art over there. That would be what it will look like. You don't know the power level yet until you play it. You don't know the effect until you play it. You got to take a risk on this unknown card, and then you play it, and bam, it reveals itself. And it could be anything. It's like Morph, except not limited to your opponent's hand. It's like any card in the game, which would just be nuts. It's basically X-Mansion almost, but you have to take the risk in playing the card, which I really love that idea. And I think most people just wouldn't. They just wouldn't bother. But then the ones that do just kind of works with their curve. So they end up doing it, and maybe it works out or it doesn't. I mean, it could be something brutal, right? It could be like Hell Cow and discards 2 cards from your hand. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm running APOC. No, I'm kidding. Like, you probably just got screwed. Or it could be Cash Money and it's like infinite and just 20 power. It's like, bam, my little 2 cost became 20 power. Amazing. So I thought this was awesome. I mean, I don't know if the opportunity cost is there. Like, you have to pay 3 to play this, and you get 3 power, and then you get the 2, and then you got to play the 2, and then if it has value, then it's worth it. But if it doesn't, oof, it was a big tempo loss by playing Blindfold. And if you actually give your opponent a good card, total RNG, you don't know if it's going to happen, but if it's just so happened that you did, then it's going to feel really bad that you paid 3 to play Blindfold and give your opponent something good if they have the balls to play it. So I think that's pretty cool. Definitely big time Spidey emotes. If you both play the unrevealed card on the same turn, that would be epic. Number 4, Mangajones Wiccan. Oh, I feel like I get this name wrong. Everybody loves making cards of Wiccan. I'm not sure, but it's awesome. It's a cool character. Scarlet Witch's son, I do believe. So Wiccan is 3/5 ongoing. Skip your draw and add 1 random card to your hand. It costs 0. That means every single turn you are not drawing from your deck. You're drawing from the ether. You're drawing from like deep space, trying to hope that you get good cards, and that they're going to cost 0. So maybe they're probably going to be pretty good, because most cards in Snap cost more than 0 and they have decent effects. So you're probably in a decent spot, but you have absolutely no control over how this game is going to go for you. But I think it's pretty awesome. There's a few synergies here that are actually pretty epic. Like Agatha. Agatha can play the 0 cost cards with no problem. So it's like, okay, sweet. I know she's going to play the cards. She's going to find value somehow. She's not going to be totally dumb. She's going to play whatever else is in my hand, and it should hopefully work out. Then on turn 6, she'll play herself and another card. Great, even better than her normal turn 6s. Onslaught. I don't know how you do it. You'd have to somehow cheat out Onslaught, but if you did, then you're getting 2 0 cost random cards every turn, which is absolutely insane. That's a crazy engine that you got going on there. And then Strong Guy is an easy one. I think this is an easy condition to hit, because you're always drawing 0 cost cards rather. So you're always playing those, and then your hand, whatever you have left over, you're going to find ways to play that eventually. So then bam, it's like 10 power Strong Guy, probably no problem at all. So overall, I feel like this card could absolutely be insane, but you have to remember RNG. Like, I don't know. I think on average, the cards are going to be better. So I feel like if I was to balance this, I'd make them cost 1 or 2, even, to be honest with you, because I think most of the time they're going to have upside, and then you're playing them all the time. You're only drawing 1 card anyways, so it's not like you're getting more cards than you normally would. You're not getting less. So I feel like this could actually get a little bit out of hand, and having the premium stat line too is probably like a cherry on top, making it a little bit too powerful. But overall, the effect is fascinating. I think it's really interesting to completely forsake your deck during a game, and just taking it to the RNG gods and saying, take me to the promised land of cubes. Show me the way. So I thought it was really cool. Thank you, Mangajones. Number 3, Gamerly's Firelord. Okay, this one is so cool, and I have to admit, I shuffled up the text slightly, and I apologize if I ruined the card, but I didn't do too much. I kind of gave it a keyword, and then the on reveal. The on reveal wasn't there, but it felt like it needed to be. because otherwise it's like a trigger, but it happens like immediately when the card is revealed. So I just felt like it needed it on reveal. But it's going to burn a random enemy card here. And Gamerly originally just had the text as -1 power at the end of each turn, but I felt like it would be maybe a little bit easier to understand if it had a keyword of sorts. It could have just said afflict, and I think that would have been fine. I think actually that's what Gamerly had, afflict, but I just put burn for a little spin on it because I love this card so much. I think it's such a cool idea. So burn is basically -1 power at the end of each turn. So Jotunheim kind of has that, right? It's going to give -1 power to all of those cards. So there you go. It's basically that, except you hit one and then it's going to keep burning away, which I thought was sick, which is really good power value because you already have a 3/4, and then it's going to, if that stacks like 3 times, right? Turn 4, 5, 6, or actually 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 4. This could get up to essentially a 3/8 in value, which is kind of like close to the Maximus line. If you play it on curve and you hit the right card that you want to hit, yeah, I think it'd be pretty awesome. You could trigger it with Wong to get 2 burns on 2 separate cards. Mind you, it's not going to like afflict randomly cards. It's 1 card gets burned, and that's going to remain for the rest of the game. We don't have really a tech for that just about yet. But maybe beasting it back to the hand or something like that, and then like 0, removing the ability. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be things. And then Viper, you could push over a card, or your Green Goblin, put cards over to your side of the opponent's board so that you get to hit those with the burn and really make them burn out at a location. I don't know. I thought this was really cool. I don't like to get too much into new keywords because we already have some really good established keywords in Snap. And we had a discussion about this one time on stream, and I think the consensus is that a lot of people would rather wait like another year until the new keyword is released. But I feel like this isn't really a keyword, or could be in the future maybe. It's already kind of in the game. It's just putting a word on it. So I thought it was awesome. I thought this card was awesome, Gamerly. It was really cool. Great art too. Yeah, really well done. Number 2, AKG's Impossible Man. Okay, this one is number 2 because this takes the crown for the randomness, right? That's the challenge, right? The number 1 card I just really like the most, but this one is like the random king. Okay, so a 1/0. At the end of each turn, transform into a random card if it has an on reveal ability activated. So just total random. You throw it out there, it's just going to switch into a new card every single turn. If there's like on reveal, all of a sudden it switched into White Tiger, boom, a tiger gets shot out. But the next turn it's going to swap back to like, I don't know, like Angel or something. And then it's like, oh, okay, that sucks. I hope by turn 6, when it does its last switcheroo at the end of each turn, that it becomes something good. I hope it becomes like the Infinite or Hulk or whatever, gives me some value, which it could, which is kind of crazy. So I was thinking, what if you Moon Girl it and you get 2 of these guys out there and they're just swipping and swapping, and all those on reveals are happening. You could get some really good on reveals like Ironheart or whatever else, but you could also get some bad ones like Hazmat. Or Viper and giving over a card. Oh my gosh, that'd be brutal. So there's just like some crazy shenanigans that could happen here. But really, to me, this is like a card like Morph, where you're not really going to play it, but they're fun and they're crazy and they're wild and they're random, so you just don't know what's going to happen. If anything, Morph is less random because he gives you information on your opponent's hand. This is just like insanity. It's just like, I hope I have good rolls. Let's see what happens. And then I thought maybe even Sunspot could be a good beneficiary for this, because maybe you're just waiting to see what Impossible Man turns into. So you just keep passing turns, letting Sunspot buff and seeing what cards you get and on reveal effects you get from Impossible Man. I also think the way AKG had this design is that it would not trigger when it's in hand. It has to be on the board. So if you draw this a little bit late, then you're really just rolling a couple of die and hoping like, okay, in these next 2 turns, this is going to hit something good. I mean, you could play it on turn 6 and it rolls into something amazing. It is a 1 cost 0 power, and probably on average, I'm sure you would get more value than just any other 1-drop and playing this on turn 6. Maybe in that regard, it's a little bit busted on your turn 6, but again, there's some negative things that could happen that could absolutely ruin you, and I just love the randomness of it. It's pretty funny. But number 1 goes to Psycho's Dormammu. Oh, this one's pretty sick, guys. Okay, so we got a 5/2 Dormammu. By the way, the art looks fantastic. We'll get to the variants in a second, but on reveal, replace the abilities of all cards in your hand with a random card in your deck. Not like just like swippity swap with a bunch of cards from your deck. Like 1 card from your deck is going to trigger on all of your hand. So let's say you got a hand full of like cheap things like 1 costs or whatever, and you're waiting for that big turn 6 to play them, because you got it. You know, you're going to probably play Dormammu on turn 5, right? So you've been saving all these cheap things in your hand, and maybe you got Iron Man in the deck, and then the Dormammu hits Iron Man, and your entire hand becomes, you know, cheap things that trigger with Iron Man's effect. That'd be insane. That's the dream though, because think about deck building for this. It's hard. You on turn 6, you want to play multiple things that are going to have that positive effect, hopefully. But then if you're deck building and you're putting a bunch of cheap things in your deck, well, they don't have good abilities. And if they're in the deck when Dormammu's effect happens, well, then they might pull a bad effect, like, I don't know, like M'Baku. So for the most part, it'd be tough to build a deck that's going to do this, you know, in a good fashion. Maybe you cheat out Dormammu. That's the whole plan, like wave or something along those lines to get it out. But then again, you have wave in the deck. And if it's in the deck when you play Dormammu, you don't want a bunch of things in your hand that just kind of break your hand on turn 6 and don't do a whole lot. So it's really difficult to build around. But oh my gosh, the combos would be nuts. They'd be so funny. It reminds me a lot of Bar Sinister, where you get multiples of one card's effect, right? Triggering. And then this kind of enables that, but in a deck building fashion. So that's why I just thought this was so sick. It'd be so much fun. And then the variants, oh my gosh, look at the baby variant on the top. Then we got the retro, like comic book style variant in the middle, and then Venomized on the bottom. And Psyko had like 2 or 3 more, and I just couldn't fit them on the page. So just crushing it with these variants. I just had to pick the ones that I personally like the most. But my gosh, like awesome ability, very creative idea. You know, like to copy one card from your deck. It just creates a lot of interesting deck building scenarios. Let me know if you can think of any combos with this one, because I'm having a hard time thinking how to properly deck build it, but I'm sure there's something crazy there. So definitely let me know in the comments below. But thank you, Psyko, for this one. It was really awesome. And thank you so much for watching all these custom card videos. They're always fun every week. Thank you for submitting. If you submitted a card, keep doing it. I love seeing everybody's submissions, and I'm sure you'll eventually make it on the video. So next week is the copy challenge. So make a card with copy and send it over to the Berryverse Discord, and I'll have a look at it. But as always, guys, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.